think you click that thing. Oh no. Can you?
Hi everyone.
Namaste.
Namaste. I'm Kiara
And I'm Jess.
and we're speech pathology students. And we're in Nepal for 4 weeks in January.
And this is just a picture of the healthcare team that we. Yeah. So first we'll start off with a bit about Nepal. It's just a country in Asia, landlocked between China and India, and it's 17th poorest country in the world. 30 million people in their population.
For most of its time, Nepal was ruled by a monarchy, and there was conflict between the monarchy and the Maoist group, and that started a People's War, and it was a decade-long war that has made a major impact on Nepal, and a lot of its impact.
So about a quarter of the population live below the poverty line, and basically, in a nutshell, the economy is really struggling, and this affects the government's ability to inject money into the healthcare system. And first-hand experience, the power cuts every day. Just an example of power cut schedule. So no electricity a large part of the day.
And foreign aid is extremely important in Nepal for its development.
So the social issues that Nepal faces are caste-based, ethnicity-based, and gender-based discrimination. And in terms of health impacts, these marginalised groups are the ones that have limited access to good healthcare.
Okay, so health problems and priorities in Nepal. As you can see there, the life expectancy is much lower than in Australia, 67.5 years. 70% of all health problems and all deaths are caused by infectious diseases which are readily treatable in Australia. There's limited access to clean drinking water, which causes diarrhoea, dysentery, cholera and hepatitis in the population. And there's inequitable access to healthcare, particularly for females, lower caste groups, ethnic minorities, disabled.
Just one of the rivers that we walk past every day on the way to our place, filled with litter. And there was a field of veggies growing next to it as well.
Yeah.
So the healthcare system in Nepal, major issues that affect it are the rapid population growth, the lack of education, the limited resources available, and limited availability of those limited resources to rural areas. Allied health is very limited. As Sherman and Catherine said, there's only 15 speech pathologists in the whole country.
Okay, approximately 1.94% of the population live with a disability. They are often marginalised, they face extreme poverty and they struggle to meet their basic needs, and they're denied access to education and basic rights. However, these attitudes are slowly changing due to advances in rehab, awareness and education about disability and the rights of disabled people.
Now that we've given you a bit of background, we're going to talk about our placements. So for 3 weeks, we were at our main placement, which was speech pathology at a disability school called SERC. And then in the last week, we embarked on 3 different health promotion projects organised by our in-country partner. So we'll go into these into a bit more detail. First, we'll talk about SERC.
Okay, so our placement objectives at SERC: to learn about speech pathology services and how they are implemented in a developing country.
We wanted to gain further insight into the healthcare and education systems in Nepal through our first-hand experience.
We wanted to learn about Nepalese culture and traditions from the local people.
want to share our knowledge and experiences in speech pathology with education and education with staff.
We wanted to work with students with speech and language needs, helping them to achieve their goals.
And develop our clinical empathy skills.
Okay, SERC is a special needs and rehabilitation school for children aged between 3 and 17. The main disabilities present at SERC are autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, intellectual disability and physical disabilities such as paraplegia. There are also concomitant disorders that the children have, including behavioural and learning disorders.
A picture of the school. This van is, there were 3 vans that SERC had that helped transport the kids morning and afternoon. So the classes at SERC were divided by ability levels. So this is a picture of one of the lower level classes. They had more severe communication needs. And this was a picture of one of the higher level classes. As well as providing education, SERC provides specialised rehabilitation services to the kids that need it. This included physio, speech therapy and sensory therapy. Unfortunately, there was no qualified speech therapist at SERC, only an assistant who was trained by a speech therapist.
And a lot of the goals that were developed for the children there were organised by the director, which was a physiotherapist, based on recommendations from a speech pathologist.
So these are just pictures of the physio room, speech room and the sensory therapy room. So our roles at SERC included observation of the speech therapy assistant in her sessions. We also conducted individual therapy on a caseload of 10 kids. We also did group therapy for 7 kids. We ran weekly teachers' workshops, and we also did a project on revising the school's communication assessment tool.
So on the left is the original assessment tool, and it basically has a whole list of communication checklists, I guess if you could say, outcomes that the children had to achieve, but they weren't divided in specific areas of language, so it was hard to tell which area of language the child may have needed help in. So we changed that to just include items that represented the different areas of language to see which areas the child may have been experiencing difficulty.
Basically, we made it a more comprehensive. Okay, so after our 3 weeks at SERC, we participated in Health Promotion Week, as Sherman and Catherine did. Our topic was pollution and its effects on the environment and health. We taught at 1 school and 2 different orphanages. Yeah, this is some examples. This is an example of the resources that we made to
We also took part in a clean-up campaign at a national park where we collected rubbish at a popular picnic site. As you saw, there was lots of rubbish on the streets in Nepal, so it was something that our whole group, along with our in-country partner, thought was important to try to promote public awareness of littering and how it's country, and it's an ongoing community project where successive groups come in and try to promote that awareness of littering.
And the last project we embarked on was a recently renovated local school. We helped donate money to renovating the toilet blocks and also painting one of the recently. So the key issues and challenges we faced, at personal level that we experienced at SERC, definitely the language barrier was a big one. Trying to do therapy with the kids was really difficult when they didn't understand English, and trying to understand what the therapist did in Nepal, and also communicating with the staff when there was that language barrier.
Ethics was an issue, especially given there was no trained speech pathologist there. We couldn't really get guidance from a trained speech pathologist, and we were just put in the deep end and viewed as the experts to just fix these kids, fix their speech. which we viewed as something that was extremely difficult to do given we weren't qualified and didn't have the guidance from someone who was experienced.
A lot of the kids also came in without a medical diagnosis, and their communication assessment was not specific to their needs. So that was really difficult because the goals that they were working on were not targeted to their needs. Also, SERC has an extremely limited resource base. This is the example of their speech therapy cupboard. There's just no funding for
Comprehensive assessments.
or therapy tools.
Yeah.
And it reflects a wider problem in Nepalese society, lack of resources.
What we learnt, we learnt how to conduct therapy with limited resources. We really had to learn how to improvise and adapt and use what was around us to have our therapy and to come up with activities for the children. And dealing with power shortages when we had lesson preparation to do, similar to Catherine and Sherman. So we learned a lot from that.
Yeah, we learnt about various disabilities and experience in recognising it. We learnt to, instead of focusing on the weaknesses that a child may have, build on their strengths in therapy.
We learnt how to manage children with challenging behaviour, so we got to really practice our therapy skills.
We learnt how to motivate kids in therapy, especially given the limited resources. Make do with what was available to us.
We had experience in conducting the educational workshops with teachers, and we communicated our knowledge to them in a way, they were obviously ESL, so we had to try to communicate our knowledge in a way that was easy for them to understand and to them.
And we learnt a lot through revising that communication tool. Really put our speech pathology knowledge into something really practical.
And from all of this, most importantly, we learnt that good healthcare starts at the government level, and that individual healthcare worker can only do so much within the constraints of a healthcare.
Just skip over these slides, but there were lots of benefits to the individuals and the communities that we came in contact with. We just want to finish off on wider context answer to global health problems. Basically, with political instability, work very well. That's a bigger issue that maybe we can't solve. But in the meantime, how can we help? Find that providing knowledge is better than providing short-term services. For example, teaching the kids didn't have as much impact as educating the teachers, give them skills and knowledge to provide better therapy.
So give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime. So by educating the teachers, there's a longer lasting impact there than just working with a child for 3 weeks. So yeah, just a bit more sustainable working that way.
Any questions? Take with us to Nepal.
Yeah, I brought a few children's books, which were useful, particularly in the teachers' workshop, showing them how to teach reading, facilitate language, questioning in a lesson, and also in the group therapy activities, individual therapy.
Using that in a
trying to elicit non-verbal communication. So we kind of gave them, we were in a music therapy room, so we had musical instruments. So we'd give the children a few options of, blocks, a musical instrument to choose from, and tried to get them to request which one